off the road. Give me a hand grenade!
Okay, so maybe you remember that scene from the 1965 film Battle of the Bulge. American soldiers burning that fuel to stop the German attack. It was one of the Nazis' last big offensive moves near the end of World War II. The movie, it's been pointed out, contains a lot of historical inaccuracies. But what really happened during that war, you guessed it, it has Idaho ties. Wouldn't you know it? You wouldn't know that from the movie, obviously. You wouldn't know it from the history books in school either, because there wasn't a lot of talk about this. People related to those soldiers wouldn't even know about it, because that is, they don't talk about it or haven't up until, well, now. Here's Andrew Bartline.
Despite the welcoming curbside appeal, the Idaho Military Museum at its core,
going back to the Civil War on up,
can feel daunting.
Yeah.
A tight-packed collection of models, memorabilia,
and Idaho's been a part of all of that.
And uniforms.
That's my grandpa's last name.
W.D. Hurd. He fought in World War II.
So, yeah, soldiers, we still write our names in our stuff.
And Craig Wheeler followed his footsteps.
But better to be out on display than in my bedroom.
The piece is part of a new exhibit.
And
by a budding
here, I'll show the
historian.
W.D. Hurd from Weezer.
Kent Kaiser.
Right there, Glenn Scott from Emmett. Only 15 minutes away from my house.
And this address book is his compass.
It actually is a heck of a tool. Lucky to have it.
It's leading Kent to family ties of his own.
My great uncle was kind of in a strange unit. It was like a general armored patch, but above it had the numbers 526. And I've never heard of that.
Turns out, not many do.
Most of these guys didn't talk.
That includes Rainey Kalasick's dad, John.
And I guess I really didn't understand just how significant their contribution was.
For decades, their understanding of the 526 has been closer to zero.
They were sworn to secrecy from the beginning.
And they were sworn to secrecy for life as far as they were concerned. So they took those commitments pretty seriously.
In one day, the enemy smashed through the defenses of the American First Army on a 45-mile front and was biting deep into Luxembourg and Belgium.
The Battle of the Bulge. It was the Germans' last push on the Western Front, nearing the end of World War II.
They ended up being met by a lot of Idaho guys in the 526.
These Idaho guys.
You know, actually it's more than that. It's more than family history. You know, it's a whole bunch of families' history.
And they made world history.
The army held in Belgium. The attack was blunted, the spearhead stopped, the Nazi columns contained and thrown back by men who had flung themselves into the breach.
Holding off a Nazi advance, they hardly told a soul.
I mean, these guys are like the Forrest Gump of World War II.
But Kent now has the names leading to the records, and he can talk about it.
So they started out
for hours
as an armored infantry unit that was going to be working on light manipulation. It was an idea that the Army had that they got from the British reconnaissance and counterintelligence group, sort of reading maps and so forth. Going in without guns at all.
Countless stories largely left untold, and at best, unrecognized.
The 526 never got credit for a lot of what they did.
You know, my dad kind of mentions that, and then the fact they burned all this fuel. I don't know if he was involved in burning the fuel or not.
We knew that he participated in the Battle of the Bulge. We knew that he had, nightmares.
One piece that'll never be lost.
Almost everybody in the 526, they were drafted.
The sacrifice.
But they weren't exactly gung-ho to go to war. You know, they were leaving behind a lot.
Leaving behind Idaho, leaving behind their families.
It was not uncommon to hear that's none of your business. So we didn't ask questions, and now it breaks my heart I didn't. Truly.
The best answer can now only be found in a pair of trifolds.
He died in 2001.
My grandpa always knew that I wanted to go into aviation, but unfortunately he didn't get to see me sign up.
A hard act to follow, because there's something daunting too about a generation that hardly spoke.
Without a doubt.
Forcing others to call them the greatest.
It says everything you read is true. That's what he's writing to his mom.
But who needs words with actions like that?
And it just shows that, even these farm guys from Idaho, were on that world stage and influenced world history in a pretty significant way.
Yeah, real proud.
This exhibit started as a project at Boise State University. It was supposed to be hypothetical. Kent clearly missed that part of the assignment. We're also looking for more people, Brian. That address book he got was from one of the first people he had found. I think they're from Tri-Cities, Washington, so Richland, Kennewick, Pasco area. And they gave him that address book. That helped him find other people. They're looking for more because there's a lot more people there that he doesn't know about, or the names are misspelled in the old records, so they can't find them now.
And this whole sworn to secrecy for life thing obviously adds a lot of intrigue to this.
Yeah.
And as I tried to poorly say before we started your story, a lot of these guys didn't talk about this kind of stuff. My grandfather served in the Battle of the Bulge. He never said a word about it, not with the 526. But, you know, they come back and say, well, I have no interest in seeing snow or going camping anymore. But these stories, to hear them and to see them, it's pretty amazing.
Common thread from that generation, not to talk much about it.
Exactly. So now you can get a chance to check them out if you can. Thanks, Andrew.